Shri Guru Charitra, Chapter 17. Shri Ganeshaya Namaha, Shri Saraswatyai Namaha, Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Namadharika was enthralled by the account of the divine act of Shri Guru and said, Swami, when the young man Datta died on the way to Gandharvapura, and when his wife Savitri was lamenting, a sadhu came to her and expounded to her the most opportune and precious teaching. Who was he? Siddha replied, Namadharika, listen to what happened next and you will know it. After the young man Datta was brought back to life, the youthful pair stayed away at the holy Sangama as an act of their grateful devotion to Sri Guru. The next morning, Savitri again took darshan of Sri Guru and asked him very same question, and the great master replied, My daughter, I myself came to you in the form of that sadhu and tested your mettle. You were blessed in that you had my darshan, teaching and prasad, also because you were able to stand up to the highest ideals of womanhood. You did not seek to take advantage of the convenient portions of my teaching and timidly opt for a life of widowhood out of fear of death. Your unanswering love and devotion to your husband have prompted you to choose only Sahagamana, which is capable of securing the greatest good to his departed soul. Only because you have rigorously, but out of the unbounded spontaneous love for your husband, pursued the vow of Prativratya ever since you were married, you could so effortlessly and fearlessly court your death by self-immolation on his funeral pyre. Out of appreciation of your ideal conduct, I choose to alter the very writ of Brahma, the Creator. You are indeed blessed. Savitri then said, Holy Sir, in the form of that sadhu you have given me some rudrakshas. May you be pleased to expound to me the efficacy of the same. Sri Guru replied, My daughter, your dear husband was brought back to life by the divine power of those rudrakshas. Their power is in fact limitless. That is why they have come to be the ornaments of Lord Shiva himself. They can bestow even liberation from birth and death for those who are ever mindful of their power of loneliness. Wearing them, one wins the religious merit of having bathed in the holy river Ganga. They contain very valuable medicinal substances. Just as Lord Shiva wears the sacred ash on his body and bears the holy Ganga on his head, he wears thousands of rudrakshas on his person. If anyone wears them on his body with faith and reverence for them, or performs japa with a rosary of rudrakshas, or even simply wears them on his body, his sins are annihilated and purity accrues to him. One who wears them with full faith is unconquerable even to the deities. He who cannot utilize such an easy but effective means of spiritual unfoldment is indeed a beast. The proper manner of wearing them is 32 rudrakshas around the neck, 40 around the tuft of hair, shikha, 1 between the eyebrows, 24 round the forearms, and 107 about the chest. Now listen to an ancient legend that brings out their greatness. Once there was a king named Bhadrasena in Kashmir. He and his minister had a son each. The two lads used to spurn precious ornaments as of little worth as pebbles, but they used to wear rudrakshas with the utmost faith and reverence. The king wondered at their strange ways, and once, when he took darshan of sage Parashara, asked him about the two boys. The great sage, who is gifted with mystical knowledge, explained thus: Bhadrasena, once there lived a beautiful courtesan in the ancient township of Nandigrama. She was very rich and used to give away huge amounts to the poor and the pious as gifts. As she was an ardent devotee of Lord Shiva, she adorned even her two pets, a cock and a monkey, with Rudrakshas and kept these creatures in her dance hall. One day, Lord Shiva appeared her threshold in the guise of a wealthy merchant in order to test her faith. On seeing his pious and learned demeanor, the courtesan sent word to him through her female attendant, if you would offer me the entire religious merit of your devout study of Vedas, I shall live and serve you like a devoted wife for 3 days and abide by every wish of yours. On hearing this, the merchant spoke lightly of her virtue. How can a courtesan ever have the fruitfulness and dedication like a devout housewife? Then the courtesan stepped forward, swore by the holy Shivalinga that she would live up to her promise in thought, word, and deed. Accepting the challenge, the wealthy visitor swore by the sun and the moon that he would keep up his part of the agreement and, as a token of accepting her as his legitimate wife, tied a bracelet round her wrist and gave her a precious Shivalinga as his wedding gift. She too kept the linga in the court hall and pleased him in every way like a true wife. One day during the stipulated period, the mansion caught fire and was completely burnt down, along with the cock, monkey, and the merchant. Then the courtesan, not heeding the discussions of her kinsfolk, gave away all her wealth in charity, both to the sun god who is the eternal witness of all pledges, and leaped into the flames by way of Sahagamana, as a devoted wife does. Then Lord Shiva appeared to her in his real form and said, I have tested you. Though you are a courtesan by the accident of your birth, at heart you are a true wife. Seek any blessing and I shall grant your wish. She prayed to him for eternal proximity of Lord Shiva, both for her and for her kinsfolk, and he granted the same at once. That pet monkey is now reborn as your son, O king, and the cock is reborn as the son of your minister. However, by virtue of the subtle psychological tendencies of their former lives, they now love to wear nothing but Rudrakshas. Then King Bhadrasana inquired of the sage regarding the future prospects of his son. The great sage Parashara said, your son will die on the seventh day hence, yet do not fear, for Lord Rudra is the Savior. At first, Brahma so made the creatures that by introversion of the special senses and by discrimination they would be able to practice righteousness. On the other hand, he created unrighteousness as the result of indiscrimination and extroversion of the senses. It is Devendra or Indra who protects righteousness, and it is Yamadharmaraja who punishes creatures for their unrighteousness. The attendants of death are indeed lust and rancor. It is through their agency that Yamadharmaraja drags the sinners to his realm of death. These moral failings, like lust, assail in intellect, mind, and the organs of sense and drag the weak willed to the world of death. But they cannot affect the self Atman, which is essentially eternal. Brahma delivered the Yajurveda from his southern face, and from it Lord Rudra in the form of the hymn called Rudra Sukta. Those who devoutly recite the latter with full knowledge of its meaning and firm faith in its divine power are never touched by lust and other failings. That is why all mortals began to chant it every day. Eventually, there came a time when there were no longer any sinners on earth. The realm of death, Yamaloka, fell into disuse and looked deserted. The god of death complained of it to Brahma, and the latter showed him a way of regaining his way over at least some souls by ordaining thus, he who chants the Veda with irreverence, that is, while dozing, standing, walking, after drinking, or even simply without faith in its holiness, will be a sinner against God Himself. You may legitimately drag them to your world and chastise them for their sins. Hence, the Lord, conqueror of death, is the only true savior of souls. Therefore, you get Abhishek, bathing the Shivalinga with water and other precious materials in honor of Lord Shiva, performed by pious and learned Brahmins. If you do so, your son will be saved from certain death. The king Bhadrasena did accordingly on the seventh day, as per the prophecy of the great sage. The attendants of death arrived there to drag the soul of the prince to that kingdom. Even at their approach and their subtle and invisible presence, the prince fainted. Then the priest sprinkled on him the holy water with which Rudrabhisheka was performed. At once the attendants of Lord Shiva arrived, drove away the attendants of Yama, and thus saved the young prince from certain death. The king, who was happy beyond all bounds, gave away liberal gifts of money to the priests, and having sent them away, took darshan of sage Parashara. In the meanwhile, the divine sage Narada appeared there and explained to the king whatever had happened at the crucial hour in the subtler suprasensuous plane, and added, Yama questioned his divine accountant of the merits and sins of all souls, Chitragupta, as to how the son of Bhadrasena, who was destined to die at that time owing to his previous karma, happened to be spared his life. The matter then showed the divine writ, which clearly stated that the prince would be saved from untimely death by the sacred power of Rudraksha, and that he would live on to the full span of life. Thus, it was evident that when the counsel of sage Parashara was obeyed, the power of the Rudraksha saved the life of the prince, so that the holy writ of Brahma, the Creator himself, was altered and explained by Sri Guru earlier. Then Narada blessed the king and went away. Then Savitri said to Sri Guru, I am blessed by your very darshan. However, please initiate me with a sacred mantra so that I could always remember you with unflickering attention. Sri Guru replied, My daughter, for a woman, unwavering devotion to her husband is the only proper salvation. That is why no mantra should ever be taught to a woman. Listen. In ancient times, there was a terrible war between the gods and the demons. As soon as some demons were killed, their guru Shukracharya was reviving them again with the power of his mantra called Mrita Sanjeevini. On seeing this, Devendra, the king of gods, was scared and prayed to Lord Shiva. The latter swallowed Shukracharya himself, but the guru of the demons emerged in his subtle form along with the urine from Shiva's body and again resumed his mission of reviving. The demons killed in the war. Then Devendra approached the guru of the gods, sage Brihaspati, and sought his counsel. The latter determined that the only way open was to neutralize the efficacy of Mrita Sanjeevani mantra itself, and he employed his own son Kacha for the secret mission. One day, the wise young man Kacha went to the hermitage of sage Shukracharya and sought to be accepted as his disciple. The latter hesitated, but when his handsome daughter Devayani, who was enamored of Kacha, insisted, he acceded out of extreme fondness for her. Some of the shrewd demons suspected Kacha's intention and warned Shukracharya. As he did not heed their counsel, they secretly killed Kacha. When Devayani was grief-stricken, Shukracharya, in order to cheer her, revived Kacha. Next time, the demons killed Kacha, burned his body, mixed the ashes in liquor, and made Shukracharya drink it. Devayani was again disconsolate. Unable to stand her grief, Shukracharya learned through his yogic vision that Kacha was within his stomach in the form of ash. He said to his daughter in utter helplessness, If Kacha is revived, he will emerge from my belly and I will die. Then no one can raise me back to life, as none but I know the needed mantra. Devayani pressed her contention, saying, Teach me the mantra and I shall bring you back to life with its help. Shukracharya, out of extreme fondness for her, did so, and thereby the mantra lost all its efficacy. Thus, Kacha's mission was a success. That is why no woman should be initiated with a mantra. You may, in its stead, undertake some other spiritual practice if you wish. Savitri then said, in such a case, please teach me a vow or some ritual practice as your memento. Sri Guru replied, a vow which can help anyone to win salvation is Somavara Vrata, that is Monday vow. I shall illustrate its efficacy. In ancient times, in the land of Aryavarta in North India, there ruled a king named Chitravarma. He was blessed with a daughter who was a paragon of all virtues by the grace of Lord Shiva. When her father inquired of her future prospect, many of the astrologers asserted that she would live all her life as a housewife. But one among them put forth the opposite view and said that she should be widowed very early. The king was much depressed on hearing it. When the child grew up to be a girl of 12, she too heard of it and she was much dejected. She at once approached the great women sage Maitreyi and begged her to teach her a way out of the ominous prospect. Maitreyi said, perform the Somavara Vrata and its presiding deity, Lord Shiva, will protect you. The procedure is as follows. Fast during the daytime on a Monday and worship the Lord at night. Dinner is optional. The Abhisheka offered during the ritual worship destroys sins. Worship of the pedestal bestows empire in a future birth. Sandal offering bestows the good fortune of being a lifelong housewife. The incense offering bestows Saugandhya. The offering of light bestows devotion and faith. Betel and nut offerings bestows wealth. Salutations bestows all the Purusharthas, the legitimate objects of life. The offering of the mind through japa bestows lordship Aishwarya. By offering food to pious and learned Brahmins is obtained all-sided contentment. By offering dakshina money, one accrues much money. Stotra or glorification of the Lord with appropriate verses bestows heaven after death. Later, the maiden was married to a prince named Chitrangada. The king kept happy pair with himself. One day, the prince went out for a swim in river Kalindi and was drowned. Even his dead body could not be discovered. The princess resolved to perform Sahagamana, but everyone forcibly prevented her from doing so. So she undertook the vow of performing Somavara Vrata every Monday throughout her life. When Chitrangada was drowned, there he was rescued by the river nymphs of the nether world, Nagakanyas, and they led him to their lord Vasuki, the serpent king. The latter lovingly poured ambrosia in the mouth of unconscious prince and brought him back to life. Later, Vasuki learned of his family background and of his devotion of Lord Shiva. Then, with great love and reverence, sent him home on the back of a heavenly horse. Thus, the prince repaid to his young wife and kinsfolk and lived very happily. Somavara Vrata is so efficacious, so you may observe it. Savitri then and there observed the Vrata in the company of her husband. Later, with the consent of Sri Guru, she left for Mahurapura. Henceforth, every year she used to visit Sri Guru for his darshan and to receive his blessing. With his grace, the happy pair attained both worldly and heavenly joys. Namadharika in this way, Lord Dattatreya, who is of the essence of the highest good of all existence, appeared in the human form as Sri Guru and protected his devotees. Besides, by his wanderings, he sanctified the very earth Siddha. Concluded. Sri Dattaya Gurave Namaha. Sri Sripada Sri Vallabhaye Namaha. Sri Nrusimha Saraswatyai Namaha.